when you understand who I lost, then you can understand the pain that I'm going through, the grief that I am facing on a day-to-day basis for the past 4 years now. But I said to myself, with everything that I was going through, I was introduced to a group of widows. At first, I was actually trying to run away and not be in the space of other widows because I was saying I don't want them to define my story. I would like to walk this walk alone and get a feel of what it is like, because it was undesirable. I didn't want to be in that space. But as I got around widows and began to see them and do different things, it was widows of all walks of life, I got inspired to say every widow's walk is almost the same, young or old. Our walk is almost the same, but what matters really is how we respond to what has happened to us. And to those who were responding with carrying their pain as currency to say, I can do something through my pain, are the ones that were making the greater impact. So I looked at that and I said to myself, I want to be like this. I want to say, in my pain will not be used to self-destruct, but rather my pain can be used to rebuild myself up, and to also handhold others who are going through the same pain, because it is quite an unprecedented pain, Kathy, to go through.
Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. My name is Kathy Malajani. I like to tell people that I'm the village girl from Ramotsa, so I can tell them that and I also like to tell people that I'm #CuriousKath, because I have so very many questions. Today, I want to bring on the persona of #Catherine with no E before the R, because there's so many stories to tell in Botswana, and I think the story we're about to listen to is one that is very, very inspirational. I normally like to tell you a little bit about my guest. Today, I don't want to do that. I want her to share about the hats that she wears. So please allow me to take this time to welcome to our studio, Nyasha Grace Mareya. A very good afternoon to you, Nyasha, and welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast.
Good afternoon, Kathy, and it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, viewers.
I'm excited you're here, Nyasha, because personally, you've played quite a big role for me in my life. I will talk a little bit about that. But before you played that role, we met through some interviews you were doing, and you were coming in under the hat of LMCI. Let me not go too much ahead of myself, and let me let you share with us the hats that you wear. Who's Nyasha? What are the hats that she wears?
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I always make people laugh by saying I wear so many different hats. I, first of all, am a CEO of Loss Management Consultancy International. I am a student studying insurance and risk management. This is my second master's. I am a mother to 3 children. I am also a widow. I was widowed in 2021, and I am a pastor in Celebration Church. And I am a co-founder actually of LMCI, and I founded yet another organization called Still She Rises.
It's quite a number of hats, and as I was already saying, I did used to host you and your husband Lawrence, and you were speaking loss management consultancy, just different issues around risk. I want to get to that, but before we do, let's touch base on Still She Rises, because that for me is a really big one. I lost my mom in 2023 November, and I had known you all along. We'd done some radio interviews, but at some point, I think it was December or January, just after that, I had a brunch with you. And Nyasha, I still remember something you said, because in a way you were counseling me, because my brain wasn't very much focused. And I remember you saying something about how your pain is your currency. That is something that I still remember. I've carried it forward. And I want to talk a little bit about how you, through your grief and your pain, went ahead and started an organization. And I think you're living your purpose through it. Tell us about Still She Rises. What is the mandate there?
Thank you very much, Kathy. With Still She Rises, like you're saying, it was birthed out of my pain. When I lost my husband, I always say the story of my pain has to do with people understanding the type of man that he was, because he was a rare gem, Kathy.
Yeah.
And when you understand who I lost, then you can understand the pain that I'm going through, the grief that I am facing on a day-to-day basis for the past 4 years now. But I say it to myself, with everything that I was going through, I was introduced to a group of widows. At first, I was actually trying to run away and not be in the space of other widows, because I was saying I don't want them to define my story. I would like to walk this walk alone and get a feel of what it is like, because it was undesirable. I didn't want to be in that space. But as I got around widows and began to see them and do different things, it was widows of all walks of life, I got inspired to say every widow's walk is almost the same. Young or old, our walk is almost the same. But what matters really is how we respond to what has happened to us, and to those who are responding with carrying their pain as currency, to say, I can do something through my pain, are the ones that were making the greater impact. So I looked at that and I said to myself, I want to be like this. I want to say, in my pain will not be used to self-destruct, but rather my pain can be used to rebuild myself up, and to also handhold others who are going through the same pain, because it is quite an unprecedented pain, Kathy, to go through, especially if you were really connected. I was soulmates with my husband.
I mean, I remember this. I remember at some point we had made plans for you to come in and talk out just about marriage and how to have a happy marriage, because it looked so beautiful from where I was seated. I remember wanting to get you two to share tips, and just the door opening, the carrying of your bag, that was who Lawrence was. And I can not even try and imagine what that must have been like for you, and trying to say, let me birth purpose out of this pain, like you're saying. I want to know how you did it. I want to know what kept you going. I want to know, especially because at this point you have 3 children, you have a company you need to be running, and you have studies that you are doing. You said this was your second master's. What was the first one? And how did you juggle all of these at the same time?
When my husband passed away, I had to introspect and really stock take and look at the responsibilities that I had left on my table, on my plate. And first of all was the organization that we had started together. And that was 18 years ago by the time he passed away. We started it off even as friends before we got married. That's just how much rapport we established and how much we just believed in each other. So I looked at the families dependent on LMCI and I asked myself to say, does the vision die because one of the co-founders has gone? But the good thing was we had written the vision down. So I had it clear. I had it plain on paper. And the issue was, would I be able to then take it up? Because what would happen was, he was a great leader and it's a male-dominated industry. So I had a number of times where people would say, you have big shoes to fill. And it was only one day when I discovered to say I didn't have to fill Lawrence's shoes, Kathy. I had my own shoes. I had my own leadership style. And it was the time for LMCI to experience the new leadership, the Nyasha type of leadership, where Lawrence has passed the baton on to the next generation. And I am the next generation, and I should simply pass down a bigger, greater LMCI to the next generation. So that is what purposed me to get up. I believe within 2 weeks, my board gave me 100 days to mourn, because they collapsed all the boards and formed a new group board to try and just hold fort whilst I was mourning. And as they gave me those 100 days to mourn, I remember one of the chairmen calling to say, Nyasha, we hear you are working in Botswana. Why are you doing that? And I was saying, I cannot sleep because of the families that depend on LMCI. So that was it. I looked at what LMCI was. I looked at the families that actually relied on LMCI and myself as well. So I said to myself, I will be up at least in Botswana where Lawrence was domiciled, and I will showcase to say leadership is still there and we are still going. So that is part of what gave me purpose to get up and to run. This is organizational wise. And family, I had to look at my children to say they are already suffering. It is painful to grieve, Kathy, but when you then see your children grieving as well, it is a double block. It is a double blow to you. So I would watch them grieve the loss of their father. He was a very present man, and I purposed to say I would be there for them in any way possible. And that again fueled me to get up and then taking stock of the qualifications, of everything that I needed to do. I literally had my own strategic planning session and I mapped my career path forward. So my first qualification, obviously, I'm a loss adjuster. I have a BCom degree in loss adjusting. I then went on for an MBA because I was saying I need to get that managerial skill to run this company that was in 5 countries. It is now in 6. And then after that, I then went on to do a master's in risk and insurance because I'm trying to continue upping my technical skill.
We're going to talk about that and get to speaking on a company that's in several countries. Congratulations, by the way. 6 from 5. That means growth is taking place. We like that. Yeah. I want to speak a little bit more about Still She Rises before we move on, because it's an organization you put together to assist especially widows and widowers, and also to speak to people who've gone through loss. What are you trying to do with this organization? Is it only in Botswana? And what made you decide this was the mandate you needed to carry?
What made me decide, Kathy, is what I literally went through having lost my husband. It was draining, it was overwhelming, and I would not have made it with the support of those who came and gathered around me. I stand today because I had a very strong support system.
Yeah.
I had people, because with grief, Kathy, it can be so incapacitating. There is a time where you cease to think about even the ordinary things of life because you're so consumed with the pain of what is going on around you. But I had people come to me and say, do you know the children need to go back to school now? Do you know this and this need to happen? And they guided along. And from that help that I got, I say to myself, no, I should also be that help for those who do not have that help. And what really made an impact on me was, I always speak about the leader of another widows forum. It's actually called the Widows Forum. She took me and a number of women, I think it was 7 nations represented, to Rwanda. And then we sat down and we came up with a framework on how to help the widow in her first year of grief. So it addresses the stereotypes of a widow. It tells you what to expect now, to say now your identity has changed. You were known as Mrs. X and now you are X by yourself. I had people asking me, Kathy, to say, so are you still a pastor? And I was saying, yes, I wasn't a pastor in my own capacity before I was Mrs. Pastor. And so there's a whole lot that a widow is faced with in terms of identity. You're actually in an identity crisis. So you need somebody to help you to refocus and to actually set up a vision of your own, to say, now that I am alone, undesirably so, unplanned for, how do I get back up? So it was that help that I got, that refocusing that I got, that prompted me to say, okay, what if I hadn't received this with the levels of devastation that I was faced with? So I would also like to be that for other people as it was done for me. Yeah.
So there are a few activities that you're planning on doing. Are you able to talk about them, or is it still under wraps?
Upcoming and most probably is a widows forum that we are going to be holding. It's more like a workshop where we are gathering widows, because my vision was for Botswana, but what happened first was I was being called out to speak,
because you
outside
are a speaker. I think we didn't speak about that.
Yes.
You are a speaker at different conferences and things like that. I've been at one where you were speaking about grieving a career. So grief, but yeah, you are a speaker.
So yes, I started being called out to other countries within Africa, and eventually I then said, okay, Still She Rises, yes, maybe domiciled in Botswana, but it is going to be international. So that is what we are looking at. So having spoken out in other countries, I am now saying it's time to regroup, to refocus, and start from home and see what I can do within my familiar territory, my familiar area. So we will start off with that workshop, and hopefully we will get a database of widows that we can profile. And there are different types of widows, Kathy. So we would like to find a bespoke way of meeting each and every widow's need so that we get rid of some of the stereotypes of widows, because I believe that some of them come simply because nobody is there to really handhold, to mentor, and especially to give a living example of what can be accomplished when somebody is determined, and to say widowhood is not the end of your story. It is a part of your story. It is the beginning of a new chapter in your story. And though it is undesirable, really it can be turned into something that can benefit and uplift others as you walk your journey responsibly, responding to what has happened to you.
So you said there are different types of widows. Give me some of that breakdown.
We've got the elderly widow, Kathy, who literally does not have family, perhaps, or a support system, even financially. And sometimes you see this is where the role of the church comes in. Some of the widows are taken care of by the church. And then we've got the middle-aged widows who perhaps have raised their children are taking care of them, and they don't have much of a need. They're well taken care of per se. And then you've got the young ones who have just been bereaved. It's early days. They don't even know what to do. And that doesn't speak to age. It can be somebody who's old but just lost their husband yesterday or last month or 2 years ago. And when you look at them, really, there is not much in terms of guidance and direction, because either one thing I've seen about widowhood is people step back because people don't know how to deal with somebody who is grieving.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that they are taken care of. And like we've said, we've developed a framework. And what is good about this framework, Kathy, is it's developed by African widows. It is bespoke to the challenges that widows in Africa face, because we do face challenges, a myriad of challenges, starting from legal issues to inheritance issues to capacitating issues in terms of getting up and ensuring that that finance that has been lost can be catered for, so that your lifestyle does not change as much as possible. Because it has become almost known to say, once somebody becomes widowed, the children change schools, everything is downgraded. So most of the times when I speak to widows, it's don't focus on what you can downgrade, focus on what you can do to maintain what you had within reasonable means, obviously. So yeah.
I like that. We continue this conversation in just a bit. Remember, you can find us on YouTube by typing Moving Humanity Forward Podcast. You can find us under the same name on LinkedIn and TikTok. And then on Facebook, it's MHF Podcast. We'll be right back.
Kama executive e rekisa di-conference halls, e na le conference e tona e leng gore e tshwara batho ba ba kana 800 people, e be nna le di-conference tse dingwe tse dinyenyane di le 4 mme tse di harologanang ka di-size. Dikukama executive e na le maroko a mantsi, e na le maroko a le 32. Mo maroko a 32, di executive di 16, di standard di 16, all in all is 32. Dikukama executive e tshwara batho ba bantsi ba ba tswang dikgaolong, ba ba tswang bogaborone kana batho ba bojanala. Di-price tsa rona tsa di-hotele, di-standard tsa rona ke 500 pula, di-executive tsa rona ke 1,130 pula. Re na le restaurante, re na le dining ko batho ba jalang teng, re na le bara, re na le bara e combine le restaurant. You buy your food, you stay there, o a go jala teng ko bareng kana o batla go jala ko dining hela. Ha o batla megala ya rona ke 6540 420 box 228 Tsabong. Re mo Bogosing ward, Bogosing ward mo e along the road ya main road ya rona o tswa Gaborone. Dikukama executive hotels.co.bw.
Welcome back to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. My guest wears so many hats, and you know what? I'm trying to speak to her about all of the different roles that she plays under these different hats. I think there's actually one or two that we forgot. I think we mentioned earlier that she's also a speaker. She does speak at quite a number of engagements. She also has a hat where she does quite a bit of corporate social responsibility. We'll speak about that. But Nyasha, thank you once again for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I want us to talk about, you said in 2021, it was 18 years that you co founded LMCI, Loss Management Consultancy International. What inspired you to get into insurance, Nyasha, especially when so many people just don't even really understand insurance? What was the end game there?
The issue was not mainly to do with the insurance, Kathy.
Okay.
When I met with Lawrence, we were more of friends than anything else. We just hit it off and we had similar backgrounds. And what was similar about our backgrounds were our parents.
Okay.
Our parents were sole traders, or what you call the micro business
Yes.
people. And what we found was, whilst they were trying to raise us, they faced a lot of challenges as cross-border traders trying to take care of their children. They wouldn't get financing, they wouldn't expand. But when you looked at these two women, they were brilliant women with brilliant business ideas. So when we spoke with my husband, it was like, it's not going to be us. This is not going to be our generation. When we have a business idea, we are going to pitch it at a level where we beget finances, and we believed that governance begets finances. So we began to speak to say, okay, since we are interested in showing the next generation that we came from entrepreneurs and we actually want to better that, what can we do? Can we get into something together? So this is how LMCI was birthed. Birthed first because my husband had a unique kind of combination of insurance experience, because with loss adjusting, Kathy, it is a very specialized line of work. And even if you are to register with CILA, I'm a Chartered Institute of Loss adjuster myself, they actually require that you have overshadowed a senior loss adjuster for X number of years before you can actually say you are going to be trained and get the qualification. So because of that combination of experience and age-wise, he had gained the maturity, we were able to then say, let us go into loss adjusting. Because what happened was, as we were speaking into business, we were now looking and lamenting at what happened to our nation soon after independence. All the specialized loss adjusters who were British and from all other places began to leave, and the country began to experience a brain drain. So we felt that there was a gap where, with his experience, he could actually come in and fill in that gap and provide a tailored service to the insurance industry. So this is how we went into loss adjusting. I went in, Kathy, I had an administrative background, so I was going to do the company formations, the expansion plans and everything, but I then fell in love with loss adjusting. I'm a loss adjuster at heart, so I began to study loss adjusting, acquire qualification in loss adjusting, and that's it. That's how loss adjusting, the loss adjusting firm that we are running today's LMCI, was actually founded.
So did it start in Zimbabwe, or when did it start, and how did you get to expanding to, this is now 6 countries across Southern Africa?
Yes, it started in Zimbabwe, and that was in 2003. And we were in Zimbabwe for about 5 years before we eventually came to Botswana. Botswana was established in 2010. And from Botswana, we began now to do market researches, because we were so passionate about taking loss adjusting by Africans into Africa for Africa. So we would look into countries and identify skills gaps and actually just see whether we wanted to go in partnership or go in alone. And we ended up just going in alone for most of the time, but eventually with time people do buy into the business idea, and we ended up with a shareholding that was comprising sometimes of corporate entities within LMCI, and that's how we began to grow and to expand. But our vision really was for a sub-Saharan thrust drive, where we would be just launching first in through sub-Saharan Africa, and we are hoping to take it through to the continent, and hopefully I'll pass the baton on to the next generation and they take it globally.
I love that. So which countries are you currently at right now?
We're in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, Botswana, Malawi, Zambia, and I recently opened Eswatini.
Wait, you didn't say South Africa. I think you said Zambia twice. Are you in South Africa?
No, we are not in South Africa,
Okay.
but we are being invited to
Uh-huh.
South Africa. So South Africa will be seeing LMCI soon.
Wait, what do you mean you're being invited? You mean your company is doing so well, Nyasha, that somebody is saying, come and open up here?
We were invited because, to be honest, Kathy, we had felt that, like we're saying, we look for skills gaps. So we felt that South Africa was a quite developed,
Saturated a bit.
saturated industry. But we actually have had people calling in to say, do you not think you can consider? And some of it has to do with our layout as LMCI. We are independent loss adjusters. We are not working under any insurance company. So it helps for objectivity for the clients. And as the regulatory industry becomes more stringent, it is becoming more and more important for the role of the loss adjuster to be effectively discharged, whereby we are independent, where we are coming in for fairness and equitability. So there are some sort of structures that do not favor that. And we are seeing a lot of people saying, come in, market your independence, and you will be good to go. And the regulators will actually welcome you.
I love that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the services that you offer, because if you're saying you're being invited, it must mean you're doing something with excellence.
Well, I can say I love what I do, Kathy, and I love that we bring fairness and balance into the insurance industry. So the services that we offer as an ancillary service provider to the industry are claims loss adjusting, risk management surveys, asset valuations, and we also offer industry training here and there where we see gaps. If I could touch on to trainings, it's where we just collaborate with key industry players and fill in gaps that we see. The greatest of our trainings, the one that was impactful to me, was the one that we held in 2019 after Cyclone Idai. This was in Mozambique. We literally called in the Mozambique market, the reinsurer that was there, the insurers, the brokers, and insurance companies to say, can we meet and look at how claims were handled in 2019. The industry was not prepared for such a catastrophe, and the way that we handled claims as key stakeholders, all of us in the market, is there anything that we can do from a strategic perspective and learn on how to serve the industry better? Because there is always that stereotype, Kathy, when it comes to insurance, where people say insurers don't want to pay claims. So if we do not bust that myth, then it means the uptake on insurance is actually going to be limited. So when we do these trainings, we're looking at gaps that are existing to say, how can we fill up these gaps? So our training can be on placements. For example, we help insurers with their claims teams to say, how do you place, for example, complex covers such as business interruption? We can come in and we can offer training on that so that it is done properly. And when a policyholder suffers a loss, their claim is going to be paid and everybody is going to be happy. So that's what we do. In terms of claims loss adjusting, what we are is the go-between in between the insurance company and the insured when a loss occurs. Because somebody can pay premium, Kathy, for 20 years and never experience a loss. But the day they experience the loss, when the day that their house gets gutted by fire, God forbid, they put a demand on the promise. They put a demand on the premium that they've been paying. And our role is to ensure that genuine claims are paid expeditiously, and that also equitability and fairness between both the insurer and the insured is achieved in settling the claims, so that people can be as comfortable and as happy under the given circumstances because a loss has occurred. So that's what we do. And then risk management surveys is just where we become the eyes and the ears of the insurer, either at placement of a risk or during the currency of the policy, where we walk in, we look at the risk management measures that a client has in place, we extol the virtues of what they have in place, and we also encourage recommendations for improvement. And what we're just trying to do here is to ensure that we are protecting the insured against risks occurring that could result in loss. And that's part of what we do as risk management surveys.
So these are just some of the services. I'm sure at the end we'll just give out contact details so that if somebody's listening and they're looking for some of these, they can get in touch and get them from you. And I want to bring it home now to Botswana to say, a lot of the time, I think we just don't understand, the role that insurance plays and how it works. Let's take it to property insurance, right? To say, do you think we understand property insurance and how exactly does it work? Let's stick to Botswana with this one.
All right. In terms of insurance, Kathy, it's not understood in itself fully.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunately what people may term as a service. You do not immediately see the benefit. If I walk into Woolworths, I can go and buy something and I walk out with it in exchange for my money. But with insurance, what you are paying for is the comfort to say, should something happen, I am insured, I am covered. So people don't see the benefit of it. Normally, it's only seen when an incident occurs and you realize that you're not insured and this might have covered you. So it always suffers by virtue of being more of a service than a tangible product. And yet it is actually a desirable risk transfer mechanism where it would enable you to do things that you ought not to be able to do by yourself. I was able to get into business and invest in computers and other infrastructure related to business because I had insurance cover. I could sleep at night to say my computers are covered. If somebody breaks into my office and the office is cleared, I still will wake up and go to work because insurance will pay back and restore me to the position I was at before I lost. So this is something that the average person might not understand if they do not have somebody to explain the benefits fully of insurance to them. So you'll find that when it comes to property insurance, Kathy, there can be catastrophes that will strike. Like right now, we're in the rainy season and a lot of houses are being flooded and destroyed by the flood. But you will find that people do not have cover for their properties. You remember on the 19th of February, there were floods that took over Gaborone.
Yes.
We saw cars being washed away by the water, and yes, maybe outside of the third-party liability insurance, that person might not have had insurance for their own vehicle, and it means this person loses out. So the uptake on insurance is not as it ought to be. It's not at desirable levels, and I think there is need to create awareness on the benefits of insurance, on who needs insurance. And when we talk about property insurance, we're talking about commercial properties where businesses cover their properties, their buildings, plant, machinery, fleet of vehicles against any perils that may be selected. Normally it's your fire and allied perils. And then we also talk about personal lines of insurance. This is where you are insuring your own home, where you are insuring your property, such as it can be for us the rings that we wear, the handbags that we carry on our person, our laptops and everything. So there's not much of that. You will find that if somebody's phone is stolen, they have to hustle to try and get another one. Why? Because it hasn't been insured. And I know that sometimes insuring something such as a phone might seem hefty in terms of premiums, but there are, I believe, means and ways that insurers are coming up with to ensure that these things can be insured at reasonable premiums. So there's need really for awareness. We actually have areas where we know to say, if we hear that floods have occurred, we're actually looking as loss adjusters to say, how can we just go and help them restore, because they most probably don't have insurance and they are going to suffer the full brunt of what it is that they have gone through, because in certain areas the uptake in insurance is not that much, so you don't even expect to say insurance companies will be calling you formally to say, please go and help mitigate the risk. So sometimes we go out just out of a good heart to say, how can we go and help these who have suffered loss, because of the low uptake and low, awareness when it comes to property cover and how much it is actually needed from the individual to corporate entities.
What do I need if I want to get my property insured? And can you just quickly take me through how it works for a business one versus, say, my residential, my home? And also, if you have tenants, some of us are renters. If you have that as well, please talk to us about it.
All right. Basically, by virtue of being a property owner, you need insurance, especially if that property is bringing some sort of income to you. You need to make sure that you cover it so that if anything happens to your property, you are going to be restored at least to the position you were in before the loss occurs. So they are insurance brokers like your Minet, quite a number of brokers that are out there, and you can literally just go in, request the services of the broker, show them what you have. They are qualified professionals and they can actually tailor cover for you. Because if you own a house, if you own a vehicle, and if you own a laptop, you will have buildings cover, domestic buildings cover, you will have a motor vehicle cover, and you will have an all risks cover that will cover your laptop, just trying to simplify things. And I always encourage people to say, if you are going to seek insurance, do not go directly to an insurance company by yourself. Look for these that I'm talking about,
The brokers.
the brokers. Yeah, and it's so difficult to be ignorant these days, Kathy. We've got information at the tips of our fingers. If you Google insurance broker in Botswana, you will find somebody, and those will actually help you by looking at everything that you have. For some, they would actually do what are called pre-placement surveys. They will come to your house, they will look at the house, and for insurance to be valuable to you, I always tell people to say, insure your items at the correct value. And the correct value is what it costs you to get it back as it is, as brand new today. Because if you underinsure, there is something called average. You become your own insurer for the amount which you are underinsured, because it means you're not paying adequate premium for insurers to be able to serve you. So this is the mostly contentious point when claims occur, to say, I lost X amount, but I was given much less. But were you paying adequate premium for you to actually receive adequate compensation as well? So yes, for insurance, please approach the brokers. They know how to set up a portfolio for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. Don't go straight to the insurer.
You may, they do take direct clients, but what I'm saying is, if you're not an expert in insurance,
Yeah.
it is easier to go through an expert, so that you've got expert to expert seeing, so that they can cover you adequately and fully.
Yeah.
Because if you go on your own, you might suffer from what they term as misrepresentation, where you do not fully present your case or your policy as it is, and you might get cover that is not fully adequate for you. But now the broker is actually existing to serve the client, the walk-in client who comes in with no knowledge in insurance, and they're able to take you through until you are fully covered.
I think we'll close off this conversation speaking one of the hats that we didn't mention in the beginning, and that is just of being a good corporate organization and just making sure you've got some corporate social responsibility ongoing. You spoke about this project so passionately to me a few months ago, and I know it's ongoing. So hopefully you can shed some light on what you're doing. I think it's in Lobatse.
Yes, before I talk about Lobatse, we've got quite a number of things that we do, but yes, it falls in line of education and empowering through education, and also women emancipation, where we are
Okay.
talking about inclusivity through mentoring the girl child, and through ensuring that the girl child also receives an equal level of education for them to be able to take a position in society and become a responsible leader. But now moving to Lobatse, LMCI is in partnership with the New Look Primary School, and we celebrate them because we hear they were selected, I think, as one of the 3 schools that brought out the best results in Lobatse. So we are working in collaboration with them, where we support their events, where we go in and give motivational talks to their students, and sometimes where we look at the orphaned student and see what it is that we can do for them. Now, we realize that we cannot solve all the needs that are there, but we try within the best of our capacity to provide where we can, and to also come in and offer that support of mentoring the children, of showing them. And I like especially to open up the loss adjusting profession to them. Like I'm saying, it's very specialized. A lot of people learn about loss adjusting when we call them in for an interview. And I was saying, this is not correct, because this is one of the professions that runs the insurance field. Funds move in their thousands or millions on account of a loss adjusting report. So if we are going to be ordering the market in that way, then there is need to ensure that where possible, from the earliest level possible, loss adjusting is taught, awareness is brought to the profession for students, so that they can make a conscious decision to say, I want to be a loss adjuster when I am done. If I can get people to that place, then I know that I have contributed significantly to the industry.
I love that. So the idea that you can, just put the profession on the table and let people know about it and just all that it can benefit. I think at this point, I'm going to ask for your contact details. If somebody's listening, they're looking for one of the services, they'd like to know more about LMCI, about loss adjusting, how can they find you? Where can they find you?
We are at plot 205 Independence Avenue as LMCI in Botswana. And you can find us on our Facebook page. LMCI is a Facebook page. LMCI is on Twitter. LMCI is on Instagram using LMCI. And in terms of our numbers, you can contact us on 391-6223 or 5. 391-6223 or 5. Or you can use 751-95302.
Awesome stuff. Nyasha, thank you so much. I think now Still She Rises, where do we find that?
Still She Rises also has a Facebook page, Instagram, and it is also on Twitter.
So just under Still She Rises.
Under Still She Rises, and all contact details are also found on those media pages.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nyasha. I don't know if there's any last words you want to say just as we close off our conversation.
Thank you, Kathy. What I would just like to encourage people is to say in life, we wear many different hats, we encounter many different situations, but what keeps us going is not what happens to us in life, but how we respond to life's challenges. And may we not allow life's challenges to make us bitter, withdrawn, and not responsive to the needs of other people, but with everything that we encounter, every challenge that comes our way, may we learn to be better people. May we learn from the depth of our pain to reach out to those who are going through what we have gone through. And I would like to encourage people to say, when you have overcome, please turn around and look at those who need help and do help. So that is the motivation that should carry us every day to say, I would like to cross over, I would like to overcome, so that I can also stretch forth a helping hand to those in need. Thank you.
I love that. She is member of Botswana Institute of Loss Adjusters. She's co-founder and group CEO of Loss Management Consultancy International Group. She's an accomplished professional speaker. She's the founder of Still She Rises, a mother of 3, and absolutely a gorgeous woman. We will catch you next week. This has been another fun episode of Moving Humanity Forward podcast.